Cool. Hey, Garrett, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Great to meet you as well.
So let's begin our journey into your work by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives, changed so many things about the way we did things. How did you get through that era, and how has it affected the way that you do things modern day?
You know, during the pandemic, I was at a job doing a director of membership at a nonprofit for CPAs. And it was strange. We weren't initially deemed an essential worker class, but CPAs eventually were, and so we eventually were. And I got to a stage where I realized, you know, I kind of like working from home. I kind of like doing some of this digital piece of things full time. So it got me really thinking about, where do I want to go? And that was um, a nice benefit of a difficult time period is I got time to really focus in on what do I like the best about my job and what do I not like. And I eventually found a job at a SaaS company where I took on a head of marketing role, and then started into agency life about a year after that. So I had a opportunity to take on a director of marketing role at an agency out of North Carolina, and it was interesting to be able to see that progression throughout my career, but marketing as a whole has shifted drastically for businesses everywhere throughout that time period. We went from a space where, say, you had a 75-year-old manufacturing business that they had only word of mouth, and that's how they always got their business. Still, the best way to be able to do marketing is have other people excited to talk about you. But the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, now you have to start being a little bit more scrappy. And with our own agency, HMM, we are now in this AI period, and there's all kinds of different changes happening there. And so now we've got these new challenges ahead of us, and we're trying to figure it out day by day.
So let's get into the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis with your business. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of kids. It's career day. It's an elementary school. Let's say they're 12 years old, and one of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Absolutely. I tell them that I do digital marketing, which all that means is, the companies that your mom and dad's work at, I help them be able to grow, and I do it with tools on the internet. That's the core.
Yeah, yeah. So
We we on an agency level, the way that we kind of stand out, we're a full service digital marketing agency, and we specialize in three different areas: search engine optimization, digital advertising, and website development. So we do a little bit of everything, but those are the three that we're really, really good at. And we've helped businesses that are mom and pop shops all the way up to Fortune 500 owned companies um, be able to see substantial growth.
So, what did you want to be when you were a kid? When you were 12 years old, what was your dream job?
Oh man, it changed so many different times. The very first job I wanted to be was a church preacher, and my parents were so excited and proud. And then I think I wanted to be a fireman. And then when I got to high schoolish age, I was a speech and debate geek, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I went to school and eventually got on scholarship for speech and debate at the University of North Texas. That was a pathway I wanted to keep pursuing. So I wanted to be a high school teacher and teach high school speech and debate. But there was so much that happened in between when I first wanted to be able to do that versus when I started substitute teaching. I started seeing the school system and all the red tape and all of the different pieces that it didn't match up with my passion. And I ended up getting into this time period where I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. So I pivoted and just went with some different things that I knew, which I had a communication and political science degree. And I started working in the nonprofit world when I first graduated from school. That was where I first discovered, you know, I love the digital piece of this, but I also love the relationships. I love solving hard problems. And that's what we really need in the world today is we need people who are still, looking past how quickly can I bust out content with this chat GPT prompt and slowing down to be able to say, who's the person on the other side of the message that I'm putting out there? Still use AI, still use the tools that you have, but really, really stopping to think about how am I going to help the other person that's reading this?
So I have a jazz radio show as well, and University of North Texas, the 1 o'clock lab band, it's really known for jazz. I've never really heard about the speech debate sector. Is it really high end over there?
They've done some impressive things.
Yeah.
They were second in the nation, I think, in 2010 for a style of debate called CX debate, and they've been pretty prominent inside of the um, I'd say top 50 placements every year since then. When I was there, I did parliamentary debate, and it was more of like an impromptu style of debate. You got topics at some tournaments just 15 minutes before you debated. And so you had to prep really quickly and be ready to go on a whole slew of topics. Sometimes you get the topics ahead of time. It was, it really just depended on the style of tournament. But um, for today, they've even branched into past just the debate side, and they've started to really take off in the speech side, which is more, you have acting events, you have different oratory events, and there's all kinds of different neat aspects to it. But yeah, that's kind of where my roots were at.
So who's been your hero? Who's been kind of an inspiration that's allowed you to find your footing, to find your career path up to this point?
Seth Godin is I never know how to say his last name, and so for a hero, I'm ashamed to say I always mispronounce his last name, but he's kind of a stalwart within the marketing community when the dot-com era really took off and the start of the internet. He was there really as a mover and a shaker. And he always tries to be able to think about how do you stand out, what's coming next, and trying to be able to understand your audience. So he wrote things like permission marketing, Purple Cow. There's some really neat things that he had. Today, I also keep up with a lot of companies like Tier 11 is another agency crush that I have, and they do a lot of really amazing things in the advertising space in particular. So they have $100 million that they manage in ad spend every year for Meta ads, and now they've really branched into Google ads more. So there's a lot of neat folks out there inside of the marketing space. The problem is nowadays we have so many people who claim to be really good in marketing that have no idea what they're doing. And that was one of the main reasons why my wife and I were able to jump in to this industry with our own company. There's so many marketing agencies out there. We're not doing anything necessarily that's just breaking the mold, but we are course correcting for a lot of poor marketing agencies that
Yeah.
exist. So I would recommend to folks find that hero that you know is going to be standing for the good concepts and really doing things the right way. And also find those people that you want to avoid. Don't just listen to anybody out there as you're getting your marketing advice.
Who would be a dream client? Who would be a dream company, no matter how big they are, that you would love to get on the inside and work with them and come up with a plan?
That's a great question. I I have several companies that are I mentioned I mentioned agency crushes. I also have brand crushes that are out there.
Yeah.
I I love companies like Hotjar. I love companies like HubSpot and SEMrush. I follow all of their different things. But I think as far as a client, my favorite clients, I'm a huge pet guy, and we work with a variety of pet clients, a pet manufacturer, and a few others inside of like pet products. Not a pet manufacturer, that's just like a breeder, right? Anyway, um, it would be neat to work with a company like Petco or PetSmart and be able to get into the e-commerce side of things with them. But we work with a lot of manufacturers. I love e-commerce and manufacturers who are looking for a partnership approach in particular. One of the things that we do offer that's a little bit different is we've set up all the different things in our company, whether it's the pricing structure all the way to, the communication and deliverables. We really are focused in on the concept of things being co-consequential. When our clients succeed, we succeed at the same time. When our clients struggle, we're down there with them trying to be able to be in the trenches to work to make things better. Our fates are tied together, and we only want to work with brands that we really care about what they do, so that way we can be invested in helping them to grow.
The one thing about the modern world with AI and everything else that's going on, it's like it's one thing to own a company, but it's another thing to keep your eye on the trends, to keep your eye on this kind of wave of things that continually come at us at warp speed. What gets you up every day to do this job at a high level, to stay on top of things, and then to nurture your own soul? What is all that energy for you every day?
It's a combination of things, and I would say one is really healthy and one is mostly healthy for me. The one that's really healthy is I love learning. And in marketing, you have to have that mentality of being a constant learner. And that doesn't matter what part of the industry that you're in. It's necessary at the fast paced changes that we're going through. The other piece is I'm competitive. And the reason why it's mostly healthy is sometimes, I wake up, I'm competitive, but I can be a little too competitive at times. So I gotta pull myself back.
Yeah.
But it's being able to also know that the work that I'm doing is making an impact that's meaningful for folks. And so we have a couple of different mantras at Hammonds Media and Marketing. One is purposeful growth, powerful marketing. So, in order to be able to have purposeful growth, we try and leverage powerful marketing to where our clients can manage that growth, where it can actually provide solutions to their clients where they come back again and again and again. The other mantra is marketing that makes you think, and that is one that started off as a joke with HMM. Those uh, we joked around. All right, we're marketing that makes you think. But when you really dig down deep into it, you want thought-provoking marketing. You want something that somebody sees an advertisement, they see an organic social media post, they see a website blog, and they go about their day. And then when they go home at night, they're like, here's my husband, here's my wife, here's my partner. Uh, you won't believe what I saw today online. It was really cool. Let me hold on. Let me find that post again, and I'm going to share it with you. Something that sticks with them, marketing that makes you think. So those types of things really get me going in the mornings and wanting to be able to make that real impact for the businesses that we work with.
So let's say you walk into a room of all of the clients that you've had throughout the years, all of the people that you've worked with that know you in a professional sense, and you could humanize yourself a little bit, walk to a podium and tell them a fun story about your life. Maybe the first concert you went to, one of the greatest sport events you ever witnessed, jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a bear, climbing a mountain. What would be a fun story that you could tell that group?
You know, there's a number of stories that I could tell that maybe I shouldn't tell. So
Right.
that's my
That's the dividing line.
the dividing line. I I love I love just little fun facts about my life. When I was younger, my pizza eating record was like 54 slices. And so
Wow.
that's a fun fact. I'm a prankster though. I'm gonna throw my brother out there and I'll tell them a story about something that involves creativity, but a little bit of orneriness at the same time.
Yeah.
I eventually had to stop pranking my brother because I would take it too far. Have you ever seen New Girl before the show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Winston, he's the guy, he either goes way too small or way too big.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That was that was me. And so one time, while I was in college, I was driving home. It was only a couple hours away from where I, grew up for high school and middle school. And I was bringing my girlfriend back, to be able to see the family. And they didn't know, and so I was like, you know what? Let's call them and just see what they're up to. And I called my mom, and she said, we're not home. We're working right now, but your brother's at home, so he'll be pumped to see you. So I thought, okay, here's our time to shine. And so I said, when we get there, uh, you go to the front door and start knocking, but really knock, just to get his
Oh
heart
no.
pumping a little bit, and then I'll go to the back door, and then I'll start knocking on the back door, and so
Uh-huh.
then he's gonna kind of look all around, and when he opens up the door, just know he always keeps like an old school wooden tennis racket for safety. So back up in case he's got something to swing. This is all fun and games until somebody gets hit by a tennis racket.
Yep.
And so we did this, and from our perspective, we just started knocking on the doors, and we were like, okay, he's not coming to the door, so I have my key. I'm just gonna go inside. I open up, and when I open up the door, he's running into the garage. He's trying to army crawl underneath the garage door with an escape route, and and eventually I was like, Kyle? And he just pauses, and I knew I was in trouble at that point. And he said, uh, I guess I shouldn't. Well, I'm gonna call the police back and tell them not to come.
Oh no.
And
Oh
I
no.
was like, yes, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's
so
great.
that was the last day I ever did any kind of big pranks on my brother.
I love it. I love it. That's what youth is all about though. So
That's right.
so let me ask you this, of everything that you've accomplished and more importantly evolved to at this point in your career, what are you the proudest of?
Mm, really, at this point in time, I've been so proud to be able to start my own agency. I've had, 5 years under my belt with it, but 1.5 years of full time at the agency. Um, Before that, I was splitting my time between, my other agency and then kind of my local gig, which is, what H&M was at that point in time. But it's been a real honor to be able to see the businesses that they have there's been so many that have reached out to us whenever we went full time and entrusted us with their funds, their livelihoods, the businesses that they run every day. And it's a very humbling thing to be able to work with folks that, there's a lot of trust that has to go into hiring a marketing agency. And so I take that really, really seriously, but it's been a huge honor to be able to see this grow. And we went from having a couple of project-based clients at the start of this year to having now we have around 10 full-time retainer clients that are just incredible businesses, and they're scattered all over the country, and it's neat to see, and we're still growing, so I can't wait to be able to see what we do next.
So, Garrett, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I like to think that I'm here as a facilitator, somebody to be able to help people achieve the things that they're trying to achieve. I'm a servant. I really want to be able to do good for others. Um, in some sense, I try to be a visionary and be able to see what's going to come next for us. Marketing agencies as a whole is going to change. We're going to do less production work, and we're going to be more trusted advisors and tool technicians and troubleshooters. But AI is going to change how we work on a daily basis over the next few years. We won't vanish away, but I have to think about those things as I go through. And I also try to be an empath. Me and my wife are both neurodiverse individuals. I'm ADHD and my wife is ADHD and autistic. And we both care deeply about trying to be able to make the workspace accessible for everybody who we work with.
Yeah.
And that's, for all different types of thinkers. So all of those different pieces, it doesn't make up holistically who I am, but those are some big pieces that I strive for as I go about running the business.
So, speaking of the business, if anybody has questions, they want to hire you, they want to call, reach out, what's the best way to do that?
So you're welcome to be able to reach out to me directly. My email is Garrett, Garrett at hmm.agency. You can find us at our website, hmm.agency. And if you want to find me on LinkedIn, I always love making new friends. So just search Garrett Hammonds, or I believe that my LinkedIn pathway is Garrett Hammonds dash digital.
Okay.
So I'd love to be able to connect with people there.
Excellent. I will put these links in the show notes. Garrett, this has been a joy. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.